Hello everybody, let's get started on designing these little magazine templates. This is a page from my PDF. I think it's probably the simplest page to kind of pull out right now. It has some text and some images, and I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this that anybody at any level can do. So let me go to a blank layout. What did I put it here? Magazine layout. Okay, and I'm going to quickly go through what I have here on the layers. This is the magazine effect. I put all the layers for this effect into a folder so that it keeps it away from all the other layers and keeps it to make it less distracting for you. If you just click on this little eye icon, you can see where the effect is in the middle of the page. So here it is without it. Here it is with it. This is the layer for the highlight. You can see it here on the left. Click it on and off. Right now I have it set at opacity 50 because anything higher would just make it a little too bright. But if you have like a lighter image, you can increase that so it's a little more visible. I'm going to put that back at 50. If you have a darker image, you might want to lower that down to maybe like 25 or 35, but it just depends on how you want it to look. I'm going to put that back. And here is the shadow. Click this on and off so you can see where it is. And this too, I have it down at 50 because that's the way I like it, but you can increase it or decrease it depending on how you want yours to look. I'm going to put that back. And this is the center line. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. It's just a little line in the middle of the page. It kind of shows where, if you were looking at a magazine, where the two sides meet and they're glued together. And then there is this little shadow I put behind it to add a little bit more depth. So now that we've gone through that, let me put the page back so you can see the whole thing. And I'm going to collapse that folder and so that we just set it aside. And then we can adjust everything once we get some images laid out on there. I have this layer already set up for you where you can place some images. You can duplicate this layer if you want to add something on there, an image or something if you want to do a copy or paste. Generally when you do copy and paste, another layer will pop up anyways automatically. But just in case it doesn't, you can click on it and add your image. You can always add another layer right here. You can click on the Make New Layer icon, create a new layer, or let me delete that. Or you can click and drag it down to the Create Duplicate layer, and it'll make a copy of the layer that I've already created for you. So let's go back. I've already opened up all the images I need to recreate this for you. I am going to go ahead and get started on the first image. Here is a picture of these two girls. These are my daughters. They often model for me, and it's one of my favorite images. I just took it a couple of weeks ago. We're going to select this image. We're going to go to Select All, and a bunch of these marching ants will appear. I call it marching ants. This is what I've been calling it since I was in design school. And anyway, this just shows everything that's selected. There's many ways you could do this, but this is the easiest way to select the entire image. We're going to go to Edit to Copy, or Command-C if you're used to keyboard shortcuts, and go back to our magazine layout, and we're going to go to Edit to Paste, or Command-V. And it has placed it right on our artwork layer, and we are going to go to make sure we have the selection tool selected, and we're going to move our image over to the left of the spread. Now, as you can see, it's too big, doesn't quite fit into this area. You could, if you choose to, where your subject is placed in the photograph, you can choose to move it over. I don't really like the way this looks. I think it's too cramped. So what I'm going to do is actually scale down this image. One way to do it is to go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and a bounding box around the image will appear. Now, you could start scaling this image, but then you're going to get a little distortion, and that's not the way to do it. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to drag my mouse to the left to reduce the image. Oh, excuse me. And I'm not sure if it's quite bumping up to this center line, but we'll take a look at that. Once you have it approximately where you, the size you want it to be, go ahead and hit enter or return on a Mac keyboard. I'm going to zoom in to see how close to the center I am. I'm just going to move it over a little bit so it is flush to the center of my page. I'm going to go back to the full view, and there we are. We have our first image. All right. I'm going to get into the next tutorial later with the wall portraits because we want to add these images in here, but I've already have them set up so that they're flattened images so we can copy and paste the same way we just did. Now, back in the magazine layout, we're going to place those images right here. Let's create a new layer. And you can put this above or below. It really just depends on you and where the rest of your artwork is placed. I'm just going to put it down below, even though it does not in any way interfere with this image. But let's go to the 30 by 40 frame, and I'm going to select this image again. As you can see, it's already flattened. It'll say background because there's no layers left in this. It's just one complete image. So you're going to go to Edit. Select all, and the marching ants will appear. Then we're going to go to Edit to Copy. Okay, it takes a minute. It's a pretty large file. And then we're going to go back into the magazine layout and hit Edit to Paste. It's going to come in quite large because I have it as a full-size image, but we're going to fix that in a minute. I'm going to go back into my 16 by 20 frame, and we're going to do the same thing. Select all, Edit to Copy, back into the magazine layout, hit Edit to Paste. Okay, and then we're going to go get the 8 by 10, and we're going to do the same thing. Select all, Edit to Copy, back into the magazine layout, Edit to Paste. And as you can see, each layer has appeared with the image on it. Now, obviously this is too big and we need to make it smaller to fit into this the right-hand side of our magazine layout. So I'm going to reduce the view, so we can go to View to, let's see, zoom out. It's command minus sign. You can zoom out a couple of times if you want to. Zoom out. And I am going to hold down my Shift key and select each of these layers of these framed images. Because what we're going to do is hit Edit, Transform, Scale. And it didn't quite go out far enough. So I'm going to hit Command minus so I can see the entire bounding box of the largest image. And I'm going to hold my Shift key down, grab a corner, and bring it in and shrink it. Scaling it down. Move the whole group over. You don't have to hold your Shift key for this. Now hold the Shift key down again and shrink it. Alright, now we're going to zoom back in, zoom back out. Oh, you're right, zoom in. Zoom in, and I'm just going to hit Command plus because it's easier for me. Alright, we're back to the actual size. So, I think this might still be too big, so I'm going to shrink it up a little bit more. And I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit my return key on my keyboard, or I think it's select on a PC. It takes a few seconds there. All right. And I'm going to select or click on layer 2, which is the 16 by 20. And I'm going to rename it 16 by 20. And click on the smaller layer, that's my 8 by 10, and I'm going to name that. And then I'm going to double click on the largest one. I think this is, the 30 by 40. Okay, this isn't for the client, this is just for you, so that you can keep track of what's on that layer, because as you can see in the preview, that's really small. I can't tell what that could be, although I do know, but if after a while you get to work on a piece and you start to forget what it is on that layer. So naming it makes it a lot easier. Now I'm going to move this over because it's just too small. I'm sorry. it just kind of arrange it so that it looks a little bit prettier, and put it in a different spot here. I think I might put this one right here, and put the 8x10 maybe about right here. I kind of like the way that looks. Maybe move the 16x20 up so that there's some differentiation between the two frames there. Alright, and I got a little arrangement that I think I'm kind of happy with. I think I'll move these two at the same time. Just move it up a little bit. Okay. And I don't like that there's not an even amount of space on both these sides. So what I'm going to do is select all three of those layers again, and I'm going to reduce, scale those down. So back to Edit, to Transform, to Scale. And hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to make them just a little bit smaller. And I think I'm happy with that, so I'm going to hit Return. And I'm going to grab all those images and move them over, because I want to have, and I'm just eyeing this. You can actually use guides to measure it. If you move your mouse over to this little rulers, and if you don't have the rulers up, I always have them up because it's part of my preferences. I think the keyboard shortcut is Command R. Yeah, Command R will make those rulers reappear. So if you don't already have those up, just hit Command R, and Command, or it has a little apple symbol on it if you have an older keyboard. Command R, right there. And you can bring a guide over. This is 8.5, that's the middle of the page. Maybe put it about 9 if you want it to be at that distance, or 9.5. Mine's almost about right there. So I can bring that over and kind of measure where you want the distances of those two things to be. So it's about 1 inch on either side. And I'm just going to set this so I can visually kind of place it between those two guides. And it's almost there. And I don't need these guides anymore because I just think they're distracting, so I'm going to clear the guides. View to clear. Clear guides. Alright, well, we're almost there, and this looks a little flat, and I want to add a little bit more dimension to it, and I want to kind of separate these three images from each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on each layer, and a dialog box will pop up, and I'm going to add a drop shadow. So I'm going to click on drop shadow, and the little preview will come up, but it's such a large file that you really can't see what's happening there. So I'm just going to exaggerate this a little bit, and you can see there's the shadow right there. And I think it's too dark. I'm going to drop it down to 35, so I'm just going to highlight that opacity of the drop shadow and change it to 35%. I think that looks a little better. The distance isn't quite odd, so I'm going to put it back to probably about 20. I think it would look pretty good there. The size, about 25. It's kind of you just kind of eye it and see how it looks to you, if you prefer it to be a little further away from the wall. And I'm thinking of this background as a wall, like it's hanging up on a wall. And I think that looks good, so I'm going to hit OK. Now you can double click on each layer and do the same thing again, but I like to do this because it's just so much easier. Click on the layer that we just created with the drop shadow, and I'm going to hold down my Control key and click on it. And a box will appear, and you can go to Copy Layer Style. I'm sorry that's just a little bit off that side there, but you get the idea of where it is. I copied the layer style. I'm going to click on the next one, the 16x20, hold my Control key down, and hit Paste Layer Style. And now that one has a drop shadow. Click on 8x10, hold down your Control key, and click Paste Layer Style again. And now all three of your images have the exact same drop shadow, so that way you don't have to go back in and put the same settings for each drop shadow. Now we can collapse that extra text that we don't need, since we know that that's what the effect is. It's just distracting. So you click on the little arrow, little grayed out arrow that's on that layer, and it makes it reappear or disappear. Okay, now that we have that done, we're going to add some text. So if you go back into, I'm going to go back in to show you, I want to put in some of this text. putting my pricing for each of these different images for prints, and a little explanation about it, and a headline, or I call it a headline, just easier to refer to it that way. I'm going to go back into my magazine layout, and I'm going to click on the Type tool. That's this little T over here in your Tools palette. Click on that, and anywhere on this area, just click on it, and a layer will pop up. Why is that not working? My computer is really slow. Hold on. Ah, there it is. So now we have a layer of text called Layer 1. All right, I'm going to type in the word wall portraits. Wall portraits. Oops. Okay. And I think I might make it just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click and drag across that text, is one way to do it. Or put the cursor in the word and hit Command A, and that selects all the text. And I'm going to open up my text palette. So I think it's under Window to Character. Oh, wait, sorry. It's already opened. Well, if it wasn't open, you would go to Window to, Type to Characters, I think. Oh, I moved everything around. Go to Window to Characters. There it is. Just select on that. See the dialog box disappear. Your layer character palette disappears. Click on it to make it reappear. All right. So right now it's set at 18 points, and I want to make it maybe a little bit bigger. I think I'll go up to 24. I kind of like that. It's a good size. And I'm going to unselect it and move it over. And I want to open up my swatch palette because I want to make it a different color. So go to Window to Swatches. Where is it? There it is. Swatches. Okay, and move that over a little bit so I can see it. Maybe drag it over here. There we go. So now I have layers, my swatches, and my text all on one side of my the program, so I can still have this artboard area to work on. So let's go back and hit the text tool and select all of our text. And we're going to go over to this palette and change the color. So the little eyedropper shows up, and I want to pick this little light red, or maybe this light pastel, but I think I'll go with this color. Kind of close to the color I have on my my finished page. And I like the way that looks. I'm going to keep it there because later I'm going to align it with the rest of my text. If you know that you want to have it a certain distance in your page, you can drag a guide up here and make it, maybe 0.75 inches from the edge of your document, and bring the top guide down to about that too. And then you can move your wall portraits text and just bump it up to those guides. So now everything's aligned to where you want it to be. Now we're going to make another another text box. I'm going to click on the T, and then click on the area where I want to start typing. Now I'm going to put a little blurb about this particular section in my PDF. So I'm going to put available. Oops. Sorry. Double click in there. Okay, it's going to come up as a salmon color, but we'll go and change it in a minute. So I'm going to start typing the text I wanted to have in here. Edit print. Metal print. And canvas. Gallery wrap. Period. Okay. Let's move that text over here. You can see that it comes up as centered, probably because the last time that I used center text. Well, I want to change that, so I'm going to click and drag to select all of this text. And you'll notice up at the top, you'll have different aligning orientations for your text. Right now it's centered text. I'm going to hit left aligned, and it moves everything over to and justifies all the text to the left. You could also align to the right, and everything will be justified to the right. I'm going to go back to left because I like it that way. I want to line it up with wall portraits, so I'm going to move it over, and I want to reduce the size of this text and the color. So let's go and select the text again. I want to drop it down to about 14 points, and you'll notice that the distance between the lines of text, the leading as it's called, is quite wide. I don't want it that wide. I'm going to change that. So we can go back into the text character palette and change the size to 18. I like the distance there. We're going to keep it. And we're going to change the color of the text. I have this kind of warm gray, looks a little like a tan color. I want to make my text similar to that, but not the salmon. So I'm going to pick a darker, kind of a grayish gray. And you can see right here in this color palette, it's been changed. I'm going to hit the direct selection tool to select off my text. And there it is. It's smaller and a different color. And I'm going to align it under wall portraits. Okay. And I want to add in my pricing. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Select the text again. Double click and another layer appears. Type in the, I'm going to type in the first one, 8 by 10. 8 by 10 and its price, $275. Oops, typo. And then I'm going to hit the return key and start a new line, 11 by 14. Oops, I notice I don't have a space there. And that price is $450. Next line, 16 space X for the buy and 20. And that is $695. And 24 by 30, that's $900. And 30 by 40 for $1,200. All right. Now I want this to be a little bit bigger than the text I have here. So I'm going to select all the text again, drag the cursor across to select all your text. Go to the character palette, make it a little bit bigger. I think maybe 18 might do it. And I want to increase the leading and the space between each line of text. So I'm going to bring it up to 30, maybe 36. That looks pretty good. Now I want to make a little bit of space between here, between the size and the price. I'm going to hit select this little space in, select this little space in between the size of the print and the price and hit the tab key a couple times. And do the same thing here. Oops, I didn't have that extra space there. And hit the tab key again. And they're all lining up pretty good. All right, maybe make a little bit more space between these. Good. I just want to make sure that it looked like it was a little off, but we're doing good. Okay, I'm going to select all that text and move it up to this space right here. I think that maybe that text is still just a little too big, so I'm going to bring it back down. I'm going to hit my type tool, select the text again, and I think I'm going to bring it down to 14. I think that looks a little nicer. Unselect the text and just drag it over. All right, we're going to fix that highlight in a minute. Now, if you want to align this text with that text, because I think it just looks better when, if it's staggered like this, I don't really like it. It's just a visual thing. So I'm going to bring it back up a little bit, and I'm going to grab, hold down my shift key and go over to my layers palette and select on, with the shift key, select on available and matted. And I'm going to take those two layers and go up to the align tools and align it to the top of the edge of those. So now they are exactly equal on the equal plane here. Now I'm still missing some text over here for the description, so I'm going to go back, use my text tool, and just put my cursor after that, the period at the end of this last sentence. I'm going to hit my return key a couple of times to give some space, and I'm going to finish writing the rest of my, text here. Oops, I'm kind of not very good with typing and spelling at the same time. We all have our strengths. This is not one of mine. Includes a digital version on CD, period. Now, being that I am a horrible speller, I mean, spelling and typing at the same time, you get really busy, you're thinking really quickly, and you make some mistakes. Double check your work. I've been guilty of doing this. So Photoshop now has, well, they've had it for a few versions now, but they did it a long time ago. They do have a spell check. So what I want to do is check all the spelling of all the text I have here. So I'm going to go to Edit to check spelling. And this little dialog box will show up to check spelling, and it'll notice some words that are misspelled. So I got Evert because I want it to be every. So thank God I did do some spell check here. So we're going to change that. Hit change. And it says spell check is complete because that was the only word that I had misspelled. Hit OK. And it changed my word to every. Good. All right. Now we are almost done. You can see this highlight because I have a darker image right here. It just doesn't look right to me. I want to bring that down a little bit. So we're going to go into the magazine highlight, and I'm going to click on the highlight, and I'm going to bring the opacity down a little bit. I'm going to bring it down to 35. No, I'm just going to type it in. Select that area, type in 35. I think it's still too dark. Go down to 25. Ooh, that looks a little bit better. I like it. And the shadow, I think, might need a little bit of something extra, so bump it up to 60. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now we are done. I'm going to take away these guides to show you the entire page, and go to View to Clear Guides. And there we have it, our very first layout page. So now what we need to do in order to prep it for making a multi-page PDF, you want to save a Photoshop file of this in case you ever want to make changes to it. You maybe want to swap out a picture or swap out some text. Save 2 versions of this. Save one as a Photoshop file that you can edit, and then save another one as a PDF. So right now I'm going to hit save. I'm going to do a save as. We don't want to save over our original magazine template, so we're going to do a save as, a new document. And I am going to put it on my desktop. I'm going to create a new folder. Let me bring this in so you can see it. I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop, or if you have an external hard drive, you can put it on that. I'm going to call this my pricing guide. All right, and I have a folder called pricing guide, and I hit create, and there it is, my new folder. I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to hit save. Make sure that you have Photoshop selected. It will save it as a Photoshop file with your layers. If you hit JPEG by accident, and you're going to end up flattening that file. So just save it as a Photoshop. Hit save. Yes, I want maximize capability. Hit OK. All right, now we have one version of this saved. Now we want to make it flatten the file and save it as a Photoshop PDF. So we're going to go to Layer, all the way down to Flatten Image, and you'll see all your layers disappear into one background image. Then we're going to go to File to Save As, and in the pricing guide, I like to make a new folder to separate my Photoshop files from my PDFs. So I'm going to make a new folder and call that PDFs. Hit Create, and there's your new folder. Just double check to make sure it's going in there. And I'm going to save it as a Photoshop PDF right there, and then hit save. I don't need that dialog box popping up anymore. Hit OK. Yes, save it. You can add a description here if you want. I leave it blank, it's not necessary for me. Hit save PDF. All right, there we go. Our very first layout, all saved. Just repeat this with every page that you want to create. If you want to make a page with more images on it, more text on it, you just follow the steps that I just showed you and just repeat it and change up your layouts. Maybe put an entire image and fill it up right here on this page, or fill up both pages with images, or images with a little bit other text. Have fun. Make it your own. All right, I'm going to make some more tutorials for you. Have fun.